Stupid Garbage Podcast. Oh, I like that.
Back. Okay, we're recording? All right, we're live. Hi, folks. Welcome to the first episode of SGP, Stupid Garbage Podcast. I'm Robert, and this is my assistant, Jessica.
Oh,
say hi, Jess.
Fuck you.
Okay, well, this is my recently demoted assistant, Jessica. She's going to be on mute for this episode. She's going to be me. It's about 2:45 on a Monday morning into Tuesday. So, prime recording hours. What is
I don't know why
our
you suggested
podcast
it.
about? Taking out a retainer. Sexy as always. Your feet are freezing.
Okay. You're the one who's
What's
actively
this?
trying to sandwich my foot in two of your feet. So if you're complaining that they're cold, it's your own fault that you're touching them in the first place.
Oh, you got me there. What is this podcast about?
So they're
Keep asking you to decide.
I can't decide.
Folks, listeners, dear readers, Jessica here, vice assistant to the assistant host, wanted to record a podcast, and I said, all right, what do you want to be about? And she said, I don't
First
know.
of all, you said no.
I did say
I've
no.
been
I said
convincing
no many
you or
times.
trying to. Yes.
And then finally,
I wanted to do a movie podcast where
Right.
we evaluate our favorite flicks. Okay.
right, because I'm in the
Would you
middle
be
of
able
a
to shush
sentence.
me? That
I'm
would be
in the
fantastic.
middle of a sentence. Because I'm a man mired by his own mistakes, I just said yes. I just acquiesced. Your feet are fine. That was on you.
If we're trying to record a podcast, you can't talk about my feet.
I'll edit this all out in post.
But you can have a Quentin Tarantino
I obviously
segment.
know how to do that.
Okay.
I don't know how to do that. I'm not editing any of this.
Also, realistically,
So-
we should have two separate microphones because my laughter is just going to be overwhelming
We don't
your
own
voice.
microphones.
Okay, no, but
I'm sorry, Mrs. Rockefeller. I didn't realize microphones. The fuck are you talking about?
I would
Two
record
separate-
on my phone and you would record on your phone, and then we'd sync them in post. We need to hire.
Listen, future boy. None of that is happening.
We need
I'm
an
gonna-
editing person.
I'm going to be realistic with you. You're lucky that you're getting this.
I also
So
feel like I need
you're
to
not,
tap
You're not. Stop it.
every 30
You don't.
seconds
You
to make
don't.
sure that I'm not running
It's
out of
not.
space. It might
It's-
just stop. Sometimes it
Well,
does.
then it's that'll be a fun cliffhanger for the listeners
Alright.
and us.
You were. Yeah.
So what? As I was saying, basically, I said I'll do this podcast for you if I don't have to do any work.
Yes.
If I just talk.
So I've been.
So I asked you, I think originally 6 weeks ago, to just come up with a topic for our podcast.
I have been full of inner turmoil over this because you know that I'm not good at decision making, especially. Here's the thing.
Okay.
I really want to make a podcast with you. I think it would be fun. It would be a good way to
Okay.
kill time. We're also quarantined by a plague.
Yeah, it's the end of the world, guys. Hope you're having a good apocalypse.
So I'm just saying, if there's a time to start a podcast, it's definitely now.
We're just spinning the tunes. Well, I don't know. I think 2020 is the year that I read a projection that there were supposed to be more podcasts than people in America. Thank you.
Anyway,
You normally don't get my jokes.
fuck off.
So I'm surprised.
I don't like your podcast persona. It's mean. Anyway, I'm conflicted because
I bring something new to the listeners.
everything is new to the listeners.
Exactly. So I
Anyway.
shouldn't be criticized.
So
What's the
I
topic?
really want to make a podcast with you, but then when your condition was I can only have a podcast with you if I do all the work.
Yeah.
I thought
Suddenly doesn't seem so enticing.
Exactly.
When I'm not doing all the heavy lifting in this hypothetical. You're a bum. 15 words or less.
No.
What's this 15 words or less. What's this podcast about? I still don't know.
sweetheart, I don't know what to tell. Like
So what are we doing?
we got into bed tonight and
Yeah.
you said pull out your phone, we're
Yeah.
recording a podcast. I had no
I did. First of all, I
time.
said, "Does this seem like a good time to record a podcast?" And you
No.
went, "Ha, ha, ha, no." Which is what you've been saying every time I bring it up. It seems like you don't want to do a podcast, which is fine. I also don't really
I
want
have
to do a
no
podcast.
marketing abilities.
No, I know.
I cannot market our podcast.
Correct.
How will we get listeners?
Yes.
Neither of us really are on social
Okay,
media.
but Jessica,
Where are we going to get traction, Robert?
Listen. You raise good points because I raised them to you a year ago when you first floated this idea. I know they make sense because they came out of my own brain.
No, because when I said it, your response, I lost my train of thought. What were we talking about?
You didn't have a train of thought. This is my train of
I
thought
did,
that you
I
hijacked.
did.
Like Jesse James. You robbed my train of thought and
listen.
you took it off the rails.
Oh yeah, your answer was like, who cares? We can just record it and have it for ourselves, and
Right.
just the memories and the fact that
Yes,
we did
yes.
it should be enough. And
Yes,
I'm like,
but
that's if
First of all, you hated that idea.
this
so
doesn't
don't try
become
and
my
co-opt.
whole life, what's
Yeah.
the point?
Okay,
It's how I
well
live
then
my
if
life.
that's fine, if that's the thrust of this whole endeavor, yeah, I used the word thrust in a sentence.
I don't know why I thought you were gonna say like crux or something, and I was just like,
I'm living in
speech
hell.
impediment.
I'm living in hell. I'm living in hell. No, it's just a different word. I did not badly lisp while saying the word crux. I said the word thrust, which you'll note is a different word.
It is 2:40, which we already said, but we went to bed at like 5:00.
Doing regular time checks for you, listeners. Those of you night owls checking in, which always sounded redundant to me.
went to
Is there
bed
any other type of owl? Can you just say you're an owl? Aren't all
For all of you
owls
owls out there, that's weird.
nocturnal? All you night birds, owls and otherwise. So my point is this: are we doing an aviation ornithology podcast?
That'll be fun.
Talking birds here. The Australian magpie. What can it do? Seriously, what is the point of this fucking podcast? We're 6 minutes in. We don't even have a topic.
Zoo and we saw the little kiwi, and you turned your flashlight on. The poor baby.
He didn't care.
He did not care, but he could have, and it stressed me out.
I'm sorry to have stressed you out.
We have to edit that out because it was a bad thing we did.
We're not gonna edit any of this. No one's ever gonna hear it. It doesn't matter. If
I
you
hope this
know,
just lives on iTunes and it has 0 views for the next 10
honestly,
years.
iTunes isn't gonna host this.
Is it like a prestigious?
High hopes. No, I don't think so. But still, whatever the bar is, I don't think we're gonna clear it. But
We should set like very teeny tiny goals and see if we can hit literally.
let's see if we can hit 15 minutes on this episode. Right now we're about 6.5 in. So.
Again, my phone is perpetually out of storage.
Well, so far so good. This is why
We're
Jessica,
6 minutes, 7 minutes in.
This is
almost.
why it's a goal that we're setting.
Okay.
Let's see if we
Well,
can do it.
I just feel like
Listen,
there's literally no effort in like either the fates are going to let us record this podcast or they're not. It's not like we earn the 15 minutes.
Something to the fates. Okay. I'm sacrificing my time and patience. Here, do you want this to be a podcast about the? No, by all means. I didn't mean to have the middle of my sentence barge in on the beginning of yours. That was rude of me. Please,
I'm getting so
you go
sick
ahead.
of this. Okay.
This is your terrible idea.
Please, sir, continue.
Thank you. Do you want this podcast to be about the zoo? We go to the zoo once a week.
At
Do you
least.
want?
It's
no,
true.
I wouldn't say it. No, it's not. We go to the zoo once a week.
In the summer when I'm
getting
unemployed, we go a lot more.
We're getting lost in the weeds here.
All right.
What do you want this podcast to be about?
So here, I'm gonna list off.
Besides my slow descent into madness.
I'm gonna riff a little bit for you right here.
Sure, freestyle.
So
drop a beat.
The zoo.
I'm not gonna drop a beat. I'll do it in post.
Can you please?
Yeah, go ahead.
Stop talking.
You're right. I'm talking to the listeners.
It's like
2:47 listeners. I know you're waiting for that time check. This isn't even live.
He's also not looking at the screen, so he doesn't know what time it should be.
They don't know that, Jessica.
But
it's theater of the mind.
Oh, okay.
You'll note that Jessica is crying now. Realizing her mistake, she is silently sobbing.
I'm distraught.
Weeping.
I don't know.
Realizing that she's ruining this entire fucking thing.
Do you want your own podcast?
Why are you eating crackers in bed? Where did you even get those? Where did you get saltines? We're under quarantine, and Jessica she pulled a miniature Twix bar out of nowhere today. She gets these tiny snacks. Like, I went to the store and bought us toilet paper and a 5-pound bag of potatoes and boxes of rice, and she's just hoarding like Oreos and little treats for herself and her pet lizard. What is this? No. This podcast is not going to be about peaches.
That would be best thing.
He's
a blue-tongued skink. Do you remember we were walking down the street, or no, we were walking down a staircase, and someone was just like, "What is that?" I'm like, "It's a blue-tongued skink."
They said, "What is that? A lizard?" And she went, "Oh, it's a skink." And he went, "I don't know what that is," because she didn't say, "Yes, it's a lizard." It is a skink. She just
Similarly, when I was in Paris, France, and they asked me at one of the museums.
Okay, this is not.
Okay.
Stop it.
All right, we'll tell that story
This was
later.
5 years ago.
Okay,
and you can't just
you
use
bring
this
it up like
podcast as
once
a
a
platform
month because you think it's so fucking funny.
But see, we're building suspense now. Now they'll listen for this inane story.
It was about the
Stop
Orsay
it.
in Paris.
Stop it.
Okay.
Stop it.
I'm just giving them like if we forget later, we
Stop
can look it up. Okay.
Stop it.
All
You
right.
don't seem to know what the word stop it means. Because you just keep going.
Don't like
you keep
it.
saying
I don't
okay
like
and then
it.
you keep going. Again, this podcast is not just a platform
Okay,
for
listen.
us to talk for indeterminate amount of time. Thank you.
So it could be...
Jessica just slapped me very lightly on
I
the
just
forehead.
tapped you. I booped you on the nose.
It's theater of the mind.
Okay. So anyway,
We're
but
in the
it can,
desert
if you
right
could
now.
not
The winds are howling.
make like fake abuse.
Do you hear that, listeners? This is the winds of the desert night. Whoosh. 250 for those of you keeping track out there.
So
sunrise, sunset.
we could record them always
slipping through our fingers.
late at night.
The sands of time.
And call it like pillow talk. And be like, oh, because we're a couple.
I'm gonna live with you for a couple reasons I don't like that.
A couple reasons.
First of all, you're dumped. So that's not gonna work. Second of all, I don't like that just conceptually. I don't want to have to. I like to get into bed to sleep.
That's true. You are asleep within 30 seconds.
Bedtime is for sleeping. It's bedtime. It's time to sleep.
The good thing about being an adult is that bedtime is. It doesn't exist.
I impose my own bedtime, which is not. It's as you know, it's free floating. But whenever I get into bed, lights out, day's over. I don't want to have to commit myself to this garbage.
See, I get hung up with my thoughts, and I get caught in a web of anxiety. So I'm awake for the next 4 hours.
Right, that sounds horrible, and I don't want to be pulled into that. That sounds like a you problem.
Also, the
like
podcast
to keep it a you problem.
Would probably be an anxiety spiral anyway. Like you'd be here, and I would not be mentally present. I'd be.
Sounds like we're already wasting a lot of time.
Okay.
Which is always good to hear. The second reason is I think there's already a podcast with.
Probably.
Megan Mullany? No, that's John Mullany. Megan Mulholly, whatever her name is, and her husband, Nick Offerman. They do. It's in bed with Nick and Megan or something to that effect. So they are in bed and then they invite guests into their bed.
That's
I think
amazing.
during the daytime, and I think fully clothed.
So I'm sorry. Is this a podcast? Because what's the point of being in a physical bed?
And they talk. I don't know. That was the entire premise of your podcast that you just floated 60 seconds ago. So if you think you can't pick apart this idea that you just independently had yourself.
That's true.
Sounds a little derivative.
Robert, we cannot compete with them.
That's
They're
my point.
funny.
I'm saying we shouldn't compete with them. And also famous. You're not going to be able to leapfrog these people.
No, not even like they are famous, and obviously we are very much not. But
why is your flashlight on? Your phone flashlight has been on this entire time. I'm just now realizing that it's peculiar. Just leave it on.
I'm gonna end the podcast. Yeah. Okay. It's on because it was assisting me to get into bed. And then I just didn't turn it off. That's the whole story. So anyway.
Oh, that old chestnut.
Listen.
Yeah.
It can be about the zoo as we go once a week. It can be about movies because we go 3 times a week.
Second sleeve of crackers? How are you eating these and talking at the same time? What the fuck are you doing? This is our bed.
You yell at me for interrupting you.
Yeah.
And then you pull this shit while I'm trying to get my thoughts out.
All right, so the zoo. Yeah.
The movies. Like, we could just be movie critics. Sure. Which, again, is, like, obviously, one, a profession.
Sure.
So, a lot of people are already doing it. Additionally, I'm sure it's a very popular podcast topic. The problem is that I listen to My Favorite Murder as a podcast, and then...
Maybe we could do that. Just name drop better podcasts.
We can make a list of podcasts that are better
We're just gonna talk
anything
about,
we could think of.
I listened to a really good podcast the other day, and I'm going to talk about it for 50 minutes. And that's what this podcast is going to be. It's called S-Town.
We did listen to that.
We listened to 6 of the 7 or 5 of the 7 episodes.
There were 9.
Oh, God, I don't know. We listened to some of them. Okay. I think there were 7, and we listened to 5 or 6. I'm not going to lie. It was interesting, and then it got more interesting, and then it kind of dried out. It kind of flattened, kind of flatlined on us right in the middle there, and just kind of kept going. This seems to be our podcast now, just critiquing other podcasts that we didn't even listen to in their entirety.
Exactly, and we also don't really listen to that many podcasts. Like, we listen to, like, comedy and comedian...
To Conan O'Brien Needs a Friend Today.
Conan O'Brien...
The guest was John Oliver.
Conan O'Brien literally can never do anything wrong. Like, he's so good. And I'm in love with him. Do you remember on the plane when we just watched him traveling places.
Conan Goes Abroad or whatever that show is called.
And we were going abroad at the time.
We were going
which
abroad.
was
We were on
like,
an
I
airplane.
just felt so close to him, you know.
Was that when we went to
Greece?
Yeah, on the way back, dear listeners, we had been on the plane for 20 minutes. Jessica was to my right, and she thought it'd be funny to turn to her left, where I was, and sneeze onto me, and in doing so, sneezed onto the two women who were to my left. And then I just had to sit on that international flight for 10 and a half hours and stare straight ahead and pretend like I was in catatonia, basically. Like I didn't process what was happening, and I dared not look over them. She sneezed into their food. And then
just been served their meal.
And then she laughed and went back to watching her movie. So I was just
They couldn't
there.
even yell at me because my headphones were in, and they refused to speak directly to me. I need to preface this by also saying, like, we had a thing where
I'm gonna edit all of this out.
Robert likes to sneeze onto me. Like, he thinks it's funny to turn whenever he has to sneeze and just all over my face.
I don't know if you've ever had a traditional boss-subordinate relationship, but as the host, speaking now to the assistant host, I'm just telling you, 2020 is the year of the man. We're making a comeback. All we needed was the world to be put under. Listen,
Can we just get name drop, like, hashtag me too?
All we needed was society to collapse for men to make a comeback. It's all going to be hunting and gathering, and I'm going to be frank. Sweetie. I've seen you try to run. You will not make it. You're going to be washed. You're going to wash right out. Yeah. Okay. So anyway, 257 faithful listeners.
Basically,
gotta get on that time.
So
check.
Robert enjoyed
and keep them.
Robert, the woman hater.
Stop poking me in the face.
I'm trying to shut your mouth. Robert had set up like a precedent in our relationship that whenever he sneezes on me, which I hate. And then
because I'm hilarious.
I always get kind of like
screaming right in my ear.
Sorry. What's it called when you
steal someone's ideas? Hack. It's called being a hack. You're a hack.
No, like when like you finally get up to doing something and then you can't do it. Like every time
stage fright, the yips.
Yeah, like it's like stage fright. Like every single time I feel like I have to sneeze, I get really excited because I'm like, oh, I can finally get him back and sneeze on his face this time.
Get excited to sneeze.
And then I get excited to sneeze, and then I don't have to sneeze anymore.
The brain of a dog.
Yes, and I'm like, fuck, I can't do these two things at once. So then this flight to Greece was the first time in my life that I was able to successfully be excited and then sneeze on you. And my excitement, and it just overcame me, and I did not expect you to flinch and move, and I didn't expect those ladies to be so close. Like, that was the most embarrassing moment of my life, and I'm upset that now that was... Anyway.
This is what you get for plagiarism.
Anyway, what? Who am I plagiarizing?
Me, my hilarious idea of sneezing on you every time I have to sneeze.
You know...
Cheaters never prosper, Jess.
Yeah.
This is what you get.
Although it was a lesson that both of us learned.
I didn't learn a lesson. I just faced
both
the
of us
consequences. I don't think you suffered, frankly. You just went back to watching your...
I think about it all the time.
Okay, well, Jessica...
And I feel very bad about it.
Do you feel bad about it for me on my behalf because I was actively suffering at the time?
Yeah.
So this podcast...
So Conan O'Brien.
Hey, faithful listeners, welcome back.
What did Karen and Georgia used to do? They would say, like, okay, this is the bullshit.
Garbage podcast.
No, they were like, okay, this is the bullshit. So, like, for skippers, here's where you should skip to if you want to listen.
I don't know. She's talking about my favorite murder game. You can't just name drop Georgia and Karen. These people, they're going to think that they're people in our lives. Friends of ours.
They are friends of mine at this point, at least one-sidedly.
Yeah, that is one of the sadder things you've said today. But listen, imagine how I felt.
We are in quarantine. It's been a very hard day. I barely left the house. Okay, so...
I'm loving this.
Zoo.
This is how I live anyway. Yeah.
Because you're lame, not to be rude, but you need to get out more.
What is this?
We could do...
Is this podcast just a way for you to insult me?
Yes. Movies, zoo. Yep. I mean, we could just talk about our adventures generally. We could talk about our lives, which I feel like we get...
I never leave the house. Yeah.
We do a lot of things.
Yeah.
We do a lot of things.
Slam.
We do a lot of weird things, and we do a lot of weird things during those weird things. And, like, we can take normal things and make them different.
I don't want you to take this the wrong way.
Don't be mean. to me.
Then never mind.
No, say it
because that was gibberish.
I want to hear it, and I want all
That's
of
it.
America to hear it.
Well, I've got some bad news on that front. Nobody's gonna do this.
I feel like at this point, like, I am at the age where
Sure.
I don't even have friends that I can be like, hey guys.
49. Jessica is 49.
I'm not even at the age where I have like a solid friend group that I can be like, hey
Sure.
guys, like low key, like plug this.
At
and,
your
like,
age, to get in touch with your friends, you need a Ouija board.
Oh,
That's an old joke that I stole from Betty White's SNL monologue
I was gonna
back
say
in
that
like
was
2013.
absolutely not original.
And I
I've
don't
heard
think
that
it was
before.
original at the time. It's 2020 for those of you keeping track, and 2:59 a.m. And Betty White, to think about it, Betty White was cast 35 years ago in a show about being an old woman.
Really?
Yeah.
Holy shit.
She's 100.
She was
Betty White turns 196 this year.
no.
Yeah. Yeah, true. True story. She is the oldest recorded land-dwelling vertebrae.
You could do like something where you like teach people. Stop it. That's mean.
It's not me, it's true.
You could do
It's
something.
animal facts.
You could do something. Yeah, like you could do something because like you
Her
know a lot
father
of
was a tortoise.
you know a lot of really specific information about a lot of topics. You have a very vast knowledge.
Well, okay, but
base. So
go ahead.
No, I'm just saying, like, I mean, like, the problem is that I do not
Are
share
also
that.
here.
I'm just also, like, and my commentary isn't even that witty. So I can't even just be like, oh, I'm the comic relief. Like, you would be both things.
Right, but I can't be, let's go over round 6 of the candidates tournaments, guys. Don't know why Ding Loren is losing so much, because then you would, A, you have no idea what I just said. B, I can't just change topics every podcast. Like today, this podcast is about sharks and Betty White.
You
Today,
absolutely
it's
can.
about...
You absolutely
No, there has
can.
to be some sort of underlying theme.
Teaching.
No, that's not... Yeah, words. Words from your mouth hole.
English.
That's not...
No.
I mean, like, My Favorite Murder is about different murders, right? Conan O'Brien Needs
Yeah,
a
but
Friend
I
is
was gonna be
Conan
like-
O'Brien doing inane interviews with celebrities. Right?
Inane.
Yeah. It's a 5-letter word.
I'm having trouble with the lack of a
Jessica's
visual
moved on to
component.
her... What?
Like,
Do you
no
want
one
me to
can
hold
see
up
that I'm
flashcards?
No one can see that I'm like looking angry at you. Angrily at you.
So then read out stage directions if you need that big a crutch. Jessica stares
What are
with
furrow's brow.
bewilderment
Anyway,
at the word inane. How do
No,
you...
I'm not
Is that your
confused.
second box of crackers?
I'm not
How are you eating these without making
stop
any
it
noise?
immediately. I'm not confused about the word inane. I'm upset with you for calling it inane.
The window is open. A bird twitters outside.
It is,
Thunder.
It is
Someone
pitch
sounds
black
like.
outside.
Thunder from a distance. Could sound like anything.
Okay. Anyway, do you have any ideas?
Blood red moon rises on the... Clearly I don't. And I thought I made it fairly clear that I didn't want to be the idea guy. I'm not the idea guy here. I'm not the Henry Ford, all right? I'm not the Orville Redenbacher here. I'm not Orville Cocksucking Redenbacher over here. I'm just a man.
Oh, I've been telling you to go on this rant while I record you for
Jessica,
a very long time.
Jessica,
Okay.
I'm not doing this now.
I'm
not going.
have a lot to
I've
circle back to.
Stop it. Stop it. Every time you ask me, I keep telling you, you do not get to demand my Orville Redenbacher rant.
Okay, hopefully
it comes
it'll
when
just
it
come
comes.
naturally out. Anyway,
Lightning striking the sea.
here's the thing.
Yes.
I am just absolutely crippled by my indecisiveness, and I cannot
That's
choose
not
a
the only thing
topic.
crippling you.
And my millions of physical and emotional handicaps.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm a very crippled.
Jessica is handicapped.
I have a placard. It's
I'm
legally,
doing stage directions myself.
It's legally
On her car,
official.
she has Crohn's disease.
We could do.
I'm not doing a
you're
Crohn's
right,
disease.
you're
I don't have
right,
Crohn's
you're right,
disease.
You're okay. You live with someone who has Crohn's disease. You know probably a lot more than most people about Crohn's disease, just generally. We went to the hospital together. You spent
That was
basically 5
a
full
hoot and
days.
a half. We watched. Apparently, it's not A&E, is it? One of them, ABC or A&E, I don't think it's A&E. I think it's ABC. All they show is the first 5 Harry Potter movies.
Oh my god.
That's
I
all
don't
they're
know.
programming.
It was weird.
And they show them out of order, too. It's like, you want to watch Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban back to back? It's like, no! Why would I want to do that?
That can't be right.
I agree, it's not right. It's morally repugnant, and they just keep doing it. Who's going to stop them?
In a fugue that entire. Stop getting so close to the phone when you're talking.
I'm now right up to the phone.
Do you want a time check?
No.
Okay.
Jessica,
Oh my God.
please don't try to micromanage.
People that don't...
You are the assistant
People that
host.
don't know us,
Yeah.
I feel like you...
Yep. First impressions matter. And I gotta be honest, I think I'm nailing it. I think you're in pretty... You might be in third right now. I mean, you pick up the pace.
Here comes the comeback.
Go ahead. Come back.
You'll see it. It'll creep up on you. It's a very slow, uneventful comeback that all of a sudden you're just like, okay. She's there
Welcome
too.
back to Talking Movies. Recently, right before the quarantine,
Are we doing movies?
We're in New York, by the way, so we're in the heaviest hit state in the great United States of America.
Trendsetters.
Well, something like that. And so, right before the quarantine, we went to the movies, and they said, yeah, go to the movies, it's fine, whatever, no shelter in place yet. AMC was having their capacity from whatever 500 to 250 at theater to this was like 2 weeks ago, implement social distancing. And Jessica asked the ticket clerk,
It was my birthday, so I had to make sure that my rewards were going to still be valid.
Okay, it was not. Don't try and. This is not how you make a comeback. Don't milk them for false sympathy. It was like 2 weeks after your birthday.
But I had the birthday rewards.
That's true, but you got your birthday reward.
No, I got one of the birthday rewards.
Coming off a little entitled.
I wanted to make sure.
I don't think this is how you win hearts.
I wanted to ask them. I'm not trying to win hearts. I'm trying to be me.
Go into the country's liberators.
You can just be a people pleaser, but I'm going to be me through and through. My point is that I wanted to make sure that I would get my second birthday reward because I was saving it.
Yeah.
So I was like, hey guys, can you please, are you going to close down anytime soon?
I think this has gotten a little too inside. I think this is a story that's only relevant to you and I, and not even, I was there and it's not even relevant to me.
All right, you can finish telling it.
My point was that we asked the ticket clerk if they were closing down and they scoffed at us. Went, no time. Us, movies, nah. And then...
Yeah. And then his manager walked over and was like,
and also laughed and get a load of these fucking idiots. Which, A, first of all, rude. B, we were like the only people in the theater anyway. It's like, you guys should close even if you don't have to. Like, this can't be profitable. And then C, 6 to 8 hours later, AMC's like, oh yeah, we're closing everything for 6 to 12 weeks. And the governor said we can't be open anyway. So, and I
was so pissed.
Yeah, so
my
much
hopes
for
were
that.
sky high, and they just came crumbling down. They were torn to shreds.
To shreds, you
torn
say?
To pieces, shredded to torns.
So, the movie that we saw was The Hunt.
Yeah.
It was pretty good. Anyway, moving on.
That's our movie critique. I also enjoyed it.
I don't know. I feel, being very silently opinionated as I am, I feel that every movie review I see or read or listen to nowadays anymore is not a review at all. It's just a summary of the movie. It's like a 40-minute breakdown of Act 1, Scene 1 was this. Like, they're telling it in real time, like they're reading a script out loud. That's not a review. A review is fast-paced and interesting and surprisingly quirky, and felt like it was, it didn't feel too long, and the acting was good, and the action was there in the third act, and it was kind of a surprisingly poignant, without getting up in your face, critique of class warfare. A little on the nose at times, but it was funny and good, and kind of like a lighthearted action, like an Ocean's 11 type, and it had Ocean's 11 was Julia Roberts. Anyway, was it both Hilary Swank and Julia Roberts? Who can remember? But anyway, I'd recommend seeing it 7.5 out of 10. That's a review. That's a movie review. You just did
the entire work of the entire podcast and left me entirely out of it, and I did not appreciate that.
Jump in at any time.
You go on your monologues, and there's no space for.
I might have been talking for 40 seconds.
But you went through the entire movie, and now you're done.
Okay, well then, what would you like to add?
It's too late now.
Okay, where would you have jumped in? If I talked a third the pace that I normally talk. If I talked like an Alabama lawyer.
No, because now anything I say is just going to sound irrelevant and redundant.
So what?
There was a good amount of depth to the characters, I thought, but not too much depth where I was bored or I was like, this isn't about you, this is about the hunt. You know what I mean? I like strong female protagonists, especially when they are physically...
Protagonistas, or maxinistas, if you will. 3:03 a.m. for those of you faithful listeners out there still keeping track.
Hey.
Yeah.
We are allies of the women, okay?
Sure.
You are also an ally of the women?
Sure. I agree. Thank you.
Cut this
That's
out.
very sweet. I don't think
right
I did
now.
anything recently that was sexist. The Maxinista
Yes.
thing? Lifted from a TJ Maxx commercial. Listen. Is it sexist to think in your heart of hearts that women belong as second-class citizens? I don't know. It's just how I feel. And there's nothing I can do about
Your
that.
sense of humor does not translate
Nor will I try to change it. Should I be blamed for that? I would argue no.
I'm just saying, if I didn't know you...
Where do you keep getting these fucking crackers? What are these saltines
These are
covered
Girl
in? What
Scout
are
cookies.
these? These are not... Just because you put saltines in a Girl Scout cookie box does not make them Girl Scout cookies. These are very clearly saltines, what look to be covered in butter.
You dip your fucking saltines in milk.
Hey,
you are not allowed to judge anyone.
Hey. I am not on trial here for what is
Neither am I, frankly.
possibly a war crime, I'll grant you, but not what we're talking about right here. What were you saying?
Are we evaluating that? Okay.
The Maxinista protagonist. What
I
was your point?
I like strong female leads.
Right.
And
Thank
also, especially like when they're physically strong. Like I think
Sure.
the women that can kick ass of anyone that comes in their way.
Jessica has hung a poster of the She-Hulk on the ceiling of our bedroom. It's about 8 feet by 9 feet. It's very odd.
I don't think that I would be
Oddly
against doing that,
proportioned.
but I just feel like I don't know enough about the DC Marvel shit. That's a Marvel one. The Marvel universe to be able to...
Put up a poster of She-Hulk.
No, just like understand
She's
the
strong.
backstory.
She's physically
and,
strong.
You know.
You don't have to. You can see from her picture that she is both a woman with long hair and breasts and has a lot of muscles.
Okay,
and is thus
that's
physically strong.
nice. I'm more of like a
Jessica
DC...
is bisexual.
I'm more of like a DC Harley Quinn.
Jessica
lady.
hung an enormous poster of Harley Quinn on our ceiling, 8 feet by 9 feet.
I should do that. She is inspiration to all. Birds of Prey was another one we saw recently. Also,
That was pretty good.
it was.
Yeah. Anyway, that's
I
our
didn't like it
podcast.
as much as you did, surprisingly. Are we doing a movie podcast? Because then we're going
I
to
don't fucking
rewatch
know.
Cats. We've seen Cats at least 6 times, I think.
Listen,
I have a lot
this
to
is a
say.
good episode 0. We're 32 minutes into it.
Jesus.
We gotta stop.
Here's the
no
thing,
one
too.
is still listening to this.
This-
We have lost everybody. All of our 7 listeners that were with us. Oh, sorry,
Listen.
306 faithful listeners.
This-
That's the only
you
thing
need
keeping
to
people
stop.
still. I also don't
Here's
think
the
it's
thing.
accurate. I think
Here's
it's
the
like
thing.
315.
No, you're wrong. You're like, that's why I said you should literally do a time check because you're not right. And you're just misleading people. And if
13 faithful listeners.
his entire time checks
Eastern Standard Time.
are garbage, but
Spinning the hits on 93.3 Bedtime Magic.
that's good. You have a good
Thanks.
late night radio host voice.
Oh, that's why I got into this business.
Nice and milky.
Ugh, disgusting. I'm gonna.
Anyway, no.
That's enough. Come
really
on.
quickly, last thing. We now bought ourselves a little bit of time where like we can start our podcast, and this can be like if it gets even remotely, if one of our friends listens to it, that will be enough for me. But like this can be like a recap, like 20th episode or whatever.
Anyone who is able and willing to sit through this entire thing is not someone I want to be friends with. This is
Fair. This is for the low of the low.
This is, to use a vocab word that I think you just learned a few minutes ago. This is inane.
Again, I don't like it when you call Conan's Conan's what was it? Was it a show, podcast? I don't like it when you talk about his media platforms and use that word.
I think they're deliberately inane.
I think you're inane.
Okay, that's enough for tonight.
No,
Later.
I'm saying this can be like our 20th episode, whatever.
No, this
It's
is
a very
our
weird. No, listen, because once it's like this is like this is who we are and this is what we do, and then it's like, oh, this was us before we made the podcast, fucking around.
Wait a minute.
Here's
Hold
a
on.
sneak
Hold
peek.
on. You're really putting the cart before the
Sweetheart,
horse.
we
here.
did not
You can't-
introduce ourselves.
you
Like
can't- I introduced us, but listen.
you
stop,
just,
stop,
but there's
stop,
no
stop,
backstory. You were just
stop.
like, hi, this is
You don't
Rob.
need
What's
backstory.
up?
What do we need backstory for? Who gives a
Literally, just like usually when people start podcasts, they're like,
stop.
hey,
This
we had an interest in this and we've been friends for this amount of time.
We're dropping
and
people right into the story. Listen, you can't.
my God.
You can't be planning the director's cut and behind the scenes. Like, you're planning your MTV Cribs episode before you get the money to buy the house.
I wasn't planning it. It just
really
this
running before you
is
can
muddled
crawl.
garbage.
Yeah,
There was
everything, Jessica,
not a single
everything we do is
straight-
going to be muddled.
But again, like you're saying, there needs to be like a straight, consistent feel
Okay,
to them,
fine,
and we need to
but-
pick a fucking topic,
Fine, but
which we did not do. So this is trash.
I disagree with you on principle. Just generally,
Of course.
with everything, even irrespective of the podcast.
Okay.
But I disagree with you in the overarching point you made. But I also, even if you're right, why won't you let me stop this episode then? This whatever mini-sode extra feature that it is. Why can't we stop recording?
You can stop it. I just wanted
Okay,
to get
let
out
me
all of it. Okay.
Later, pod racers.